What if the most important person to enter your life was never a coincidence? What if every meeting, every attraction, every painful separation, and every mysterious return was orchestrated by forces far deeper than conscious choice? Today, we will explore why certain souls appear in our lives with an almost supernatural certainty, why resisting them often intensifies their influence, and what Carl Jung believed these encounters reveal about the deepest layers of the human psyche. Have you ever met someone and felt as if you already knew them? Perhaps there was no logical explanation, no shared history, no rational reason, yet something within you recognized them instantly. If you have experienced such a connection, stay until the end, because what Jung discovered about these encounters may completely transform the way you understand destiny, love, and your own psychological journey. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to subscribe, like the video, and share in the comments. Have you ever met someone who changed your life in ways you could not explain? Your experience may reveal more about the unconscious than you realize. Carl Jung's idea of a seemingly destined connection begins with the belief that human beings are influenced by forces far deeper than conscious thought. Most people assume they choose their relationships based on attraction, compatibility, shared interests, or circumstances. Jung, however, suggested that the unconscious mind plays a much larger role than we realize. When someone enters your life and immediately creates a sense of familiarity, fascination, or emotional intensity, the experience may be connected to unconscious patterns that have been developing within you for years. This feeling often cannot be explained logically because it does not originate in logic. It emerges from deeper layers of the psyche that recognize something meaningful before the conscious mind understands it. According to Jung, the unconscious contains not only personal memories and experiences, but also universal patterns known as archetypes. These archetypes shape the way we perceive people and situations. When a particular individual enters our life, they may activate one of these powerful archetypal images. This activation can create the impression that the person was somehow meant to appear. The emotional reaction may feel stronger than the actual circumstances justify because the unconscious is responding to symbolic meaning rather than objective reality. The person becomes more than an individual. They become a carrier of psychological significance. This is one reason why some connections feel unforgettable from the very beginning. The encounter touches something ancient and hidden within the psyche. People often describe such experiences as if they have known the other person forever, even when they have only just met. Jung would not necessarily interpret this as evidence of supernatural destiny. Instead, he might view it as the unconscious recognizing an opportunity for growth, healing, or self-discovery. The connection gains its power because it reflects important aspects of the self that have remained dormant or unexplored. The intensity of these encounters frequently creates confusion. People question why they feel so strongly, why they cannot stop thinking about the person, or why the relationship affects them more deeply than others. Jung believed that these questions point toward inner psychological processes. The individual who enters your life may embody qualities, desires, strengths, or wounds that exist within you. Their presence brings these hidden elements into awareness. What feels like destiny may partly be the psyche's attempt to guide you toward greater self-understanding. The emotional pull becomes powerful because the encounter is connected to your personal development, awakening parts of yourself that have waited a long time to be seen, understood, and integrated into a more complete sense of identity and purpose. One of Carl Jung's most fascinating ideas is that certain people enter our lives not merely as companions, but as mirrors reflecting hidden dimensions of our own psyche. When a connection feels unusually powerful, it often has less to do with the other person's objective qualities and more to do with what they awaken inside us. Jung believed that much of human behavior is influenced by unconscious forces operating beneath awareness. These forces contain forgotten experiences, suppressed emotions, unrealized potential, and archetypal patterns that shape our perceptions. When someone appears who resonates with these deeper layers, the encounter can feel strangely significant, as though it were arranged by an unseen intelligence. This phenomenon is closely connected to what Jung called projection. Projection occurs when individuals unconsciously attribute their own inner qualities to another person. They may see extraordinary wisdom, beauty, strength, or mystery in someone else, without realizing that these qualities also exist within themselves. The person becomes a screen onto which unconscious contents are projected. As a result, the connection often feels larger than life. The emotional intensity is not solely about the individual being observed, but also about the hidden parts of the observer seeking recognition. Jung noted that projections are not always positive. Sometimes a person triggers fears, insecurities, jealousy, or unresolved emotional wounds. These reactions can be just as significant as admiration or attraction. The reason is that both positive and negative projections reveal aspects of the self that have not been fully acknowledged. The individual who enters your life becomes a catalyst, bringing unconscious material to the surface where it can no longer remain hidden. This process often explains why certain relationships feel transformative. The connection forces a confrontation with neglected parts of the personality. A person may discover strengths they never knew they possessed, confront fears they have long avoided, or recognize emotional patterns that have repeatedly shaped their choices. The relationship becomes a psychological journey rather than merely a social interaction. Many people assume that the purpose of a profound connection is to provide happiness, security, or permanence. Jung offered a different perspective. He believed that the deeper purpose is often growth. The psyche seeks wholeness, and significant encounters frequently serve that goal. Whether the relationship lasts for months, years, or a lifetime is sometimes less important than the inner transformation it initiates. The impact remains because the person acted as a bridge between conscious awareness and the hidden depths of the unconscious. Through that encounter, previously unknown aspects of the self emerge into view, demanding attention, understanding, and integration as part of the ongoing process of becoming a more complete human being. Carl Jung believed that some of the most significant people we encounter are not meant to simply fit into our lives comfortably. They are meant to awaken parts of us that have remained hidden. These encounters often feel intense because they activate what Jung called the shadow. The shadow consists of all the qualities, emotions, desires, fears, and impulses that a person has rejected, suppressed, or ignored throughout life. While many people think of the shadow as containing only negative traits, Jung argued that it also includes positive qualities such as creativity, courage, passion, and personal power that have never been fully expressed. When someone enters your life and triggers strong emotional reactions, they may be bringing your shadow into awareness. The experience can be both fascinating and unsettling. A person may feel deeply drawn to someone while simultaneously feeling confused, threatened, or emotionally overwhelmed. Jung saw this as evidence that the encounter is touching unconscious material. The intensity is often a signal that something important is trying to emerge from beneath the surface. The other person becomes a psychological mirror, reflecting aspects of yourself that you have not fully recognized. What attracts or disturbs you about them may reveal hidden truths about your own personality. This is why certain connections seem impossible to forget. Even when circumstances suggest moving on, the emotional impact remains. The unconscious does not respond primarily to logic. It responds to meaning. If a relationship has activated the shadow, the psyche continues to focus on it because unresolved psychological material is demanding attention. The person may spend months or years reflecting on the connection, not because of the relationship itself, but because of what it revealed about their inner world. Jung believed that confronting the shadow is an essential part of personal growth. Most individuals prefer to maintain a comfortable image of themselves and avoid examining qualities that contradict that image. Significant relationships often make this avoidance impossible. They expose weaknesses, insecurities, fears of rejection, desires for intimacy, and patterns of behavior that have remained hidden. Although this process can be painful, it creates an opportunity for greater self-awareness. The people who challenge us most are often the ones who contribute most significantly to our psychological development. They force us to question assumptions, examine emotional habits, and recognize parts of ourselves that have long been neglected. Jung viewed this confrontation not as a punishment, but as a necessary stage in the journey toward wholeness. Every emotional trigger, every conflict, and every moment of deep attraction contains valuable information about the self. Through these experiences, the unconscious gradually reveals what must be understood, accepted, and integrated so that a person can move beyond a fragmented identity and develop a more complete and authentic sense of who they truly are. Carl Jung believed that the most meaningful relationships are often connected to a process he called individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming a complete and authentic human being. In Jung's view, people do not enter our lives randomly when they carry a profound psychological impact. Some individuals arrive at critical moments and act as catalysts for growth, forcing us to confront aspects of ourselves that have remained unconscious. These encounters can feel destined because they influence our inner development in ways that extend far beyond ordinary attraction or companionship. When such a person appears, they often disrupt familiar patterns. Before the encounter, an individual may have a stable sense of identity and a clear understanding of who they are. However, a powerful connection can challenge those assumptions. Emotions emerge that seem stronger than expected. Old beliefs are questioned. Long-suppressed desires, fears, and ambitions rise to the surface. Jung saw this disruption as a sign that the unconscious is becoming active. The psyche is attempting to expand beyond its previous limitations and move toward greater wholeness. One reason these relationships feel so significant is that they frequently reveal contradictions within the personality. A person may discover a need for vulnerability despite seeing themselves as independent. They may recognize hidden fears beneath a confident exterior. They may become aware of emotional wounds that have influenced their choices for years without their knowledge. The connection acts as a mirror, reflecting both strengths and weaknesses. Through this reflection, self-awareness deepens. Jung emphasized that growth rarely occurs through comfort alone. The experiences that transform people most deeply often involve uncertainty, longing, disappointment, conflict, or emotional intensity. These challenges are not necessarily signs that something has gone wrong. Instead, they can indicate that important psychological work is taking place. The individual is being pushed to examine old habits, question limiting beliefs, and develop a more honest relationship with themselves. This process often explains why certain people remain important even after the relationship changes or ends. Their significance is not determined solely by their role in your life, but by the transformation they initiated within you. They become part of your psychological history because they helped reveal aspects of yourself that might otherwise have remained hidden. The lessons continue long after the circumstances have changed. According to Jung, every encounter that contributes to individuation serves a deeper purpose. The relationship becomes a vehicle through which the unconscious communicates. It highlights areas that require attention and growth. Through emotional experiences, both positive and painful, the psyche gradually moves toward integration. Hidden qualities become conscious, fragmented parts of the self begin to unite, and a clearer sense of identity emerges. The person who seemed destined was significant not simply because they appeared, but because their presence accelerated the unfolding of the individual's true nature, bringing them closer to psychological maturity, self-knowledge, and inner completeness. Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity offers one of the most intriguing explanations for why certain people seem destined to enter our lives. Synchronicity refers to meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained through ordinary cause and effect, yet appear deeply connected to an individual's inner psychological state. Jung noticed that some events occur with such remarkable timing and significance that they feel guided by an unseen pattern. When a person enters your life at precisely the moment you are facing a major emotional challenge, personal transformation, or spiritual awakening, the encounter can appear far too meaningful to dismiss as mere chance. According to Jung, synchronicity is not proof that every event is predetermined. Rather, it suggests that the outer world and the inner world can sometimes align in ways that reveal deeper psychological meaning. A person may spend years searching for answers about their purpose, identity, fears, or emotional struggles, only to meet someone who unexpectedly brings those issues to the surface. The timing itself becomes significant. The connection feels important not simply because of who the person is, but because of when they arrive and what they awaken within the psyche. Many people describe these experiences as feeling almost magical. They may encounter someone repeatedly under unlikely circumstances, discover unexpected similarities, or experience a strong sense of familiarity despite having never met before. Jung would encourage looking beyond the surface details and examining the psychological meaning behind the events. The coincidence itself is less important than what it symbolizes. The encounter may be drawing attention to an unconscious need, a neglected aspect of the personality, or a stage of development that is ready to unfold. This perspective changes how one understands powerful relationships. Instead of asking whether the connection was fated in a literal sense, Jung would ask what the experience is trying to reveal. Every meaningful coincidence can be viewed as a message from the unconscious. The appearance of a significant person may coincide with a period of emotional growth because the psyche is ready to confront issues that have remained unresolved. The relationship becomes part of a larger pattern of development rather than an isolated event. Jung believed that life contains layers of meaning that are often overlooked when viewed only through logic and rational analysis. Human beings naturally seek patterns, but synchronicity suggests that some patterns are genuinely significant because they reflect a relationship between inner psychological processes and external events. When a person appears at exactly the right moment and leaves a lasting impact, the experience may feel as though the universe has arranged the meeting. Whether one interprets this spiritually, psychologically, or symbolically, the deeper significance lies in the transformation it inspires. The connection becomes meaningful because it encourages greater self-awareness, reveals hidden dimensions of the psyche, and guides the individual toward insights that might never have emerged without that seemingly extraordinary encounter. Carl Jung believed that one of the greatest mistakes people make in powerful relationships is assuming that the purpose of the connection is possession, permanence, or romantic fulfillment. When someone enters life and creates a deep emotional impact, the immediate tendency is to focus entirely on the relationship itself. People ask whether the connection will last, whether it was meant to be, or whether they will remain together forever. Jung's perspective was different. He viewed significant encounters primarily as opportunities for psychological transformation. The true value of the connection often lies not in what happens externally, but in what changes internally. When a person evokes unusually strong emotions, they frequently awaken hidden parts of the psyche. These may include forgotten dreams, unmet emotional needs, suppressed desires, unresolved wounds, or unrealized strengths. Before the encounter, these aspects may remain buried beneath everyday routines and social roles. The arrival of a significant person disrupts this balance. Suddenly, emotions become more intense, self-reflection deepens, and questions emerge that had previously been ignored. The individual begins to see themselves differently because the relationship acts as a catalyst for inner exploration. Jung believed that these experiences often force people to confront their unconscious patterns. Someone who fears abandonment may become aware of how deeply that fear influences their behavior. Someone who values independence above all else may discover an unexpected longing for emotional closeness. Others may realize that their attraction is connected to qualities they have neglected within themselves. The relationship becomes a mirror reflecting hidden truths. Through this reflection, personal growth becomes possible. Many individuals resist this process because it can be uncomfortable. It requires honesty about fears, insecurities, and emotional habits that have developed over many years. Yet Jung argued that psychological growth rarely occurs without discomfort. The unconscious continually seeks expression, and significant relationships often provide the conditions necessary for that expression to occur. Emotional intensity becomes the mechanism through which hidden material reaches conscious awareness. This is why some connections remain important even when they do not unfold according to expectations. The external outcome may not match the hopes attached to the relationship, but the inner transformation remains valuable. A person may gain deeper self-knowledge, greater emotional maturity, or a clearer understanding of their needs and values. The encounter leaves a lasting mark because it contributed to psychological development. From Jung's perspective, the most meaningful question is not whether someone was destined to stay forever. A more important question is what the encounter revealed about the self. Every profound relationship contains lessons that extend beyond the other person. It exposes what is ready to be healed, developed, integrated, or understood. The connection becomes part of a larger journey toward wholeness, encouraging the individual to move beyond old limitations and discover dimensions of themselves that might otherwise have remained hidden throughout life. Carl Jung believed that some of the most powerful connections in life are not meant to confirm who we already are, but to challenge the identity we have constructed around ourselves. Most people develop a personality that allows them to function in society. They learn which traits are acceptable, which emotions should be hidden, and which desires should be suppressed. Over time, this creates what Jung called the persona, the social mask presented to the world. While the persona serves an important purpose, it often conceals deeper aspects of the self. When a significant person enters our life, they frequently disturb this carefully maintained identity and force a confrontation with what lies beneath it. Such encounters can feel both exciting and unsettling because they expose parts of ourselves that have remained outside conscious awareness. A person may suddenly question long-held beliefs, values, or life goals. They may discover emotional needs they previously denied or recognize vulnerabilities they worked hard to conceal. The connection acts as a psychological trigger, revealing tensions between the image they present to others and the reality of their inner experience. Jung considered this confrontation essential for genuine growth because a person cannot become whole while remaining identified only with a limited social role. The intensity of these relationships often stems from the fact that they challenge familiar patterns. People naturally seek stability and predictability, yet the unconscious seeks development. When someone enters life and disrupts established routines, the experience can create inner conflict. Part of the personality wants to maintain control and preserve the existing identity, while another part senses an opportunity for transformation. This tension explains why meaningful relationships often evoke confusion, fear, fascination, and emotional depth all at once. Jung believed that growth occurs when individuals are willing to examine these reactions instead of avoiding them. Every strong emotional response contains valuable information about the psyche. Attraction may reveal hidden desires or unrealized potential. Conflict may expose unresolved wounds or neglected aspects of the personality. Admiration may point toward qualities that the individual possesses but has not yet developed. By exploring these reactions, a person gains insight into dimensions of themselves that were previously unconscious. This process is closely related to individuation, Jung's term for the journey toward psychological wholeness. Individuation requires integrating different aspects of the self rather than identifying exclusively with the persona. Significant relationships often accelerate this process because they bring unconscious material into awareness more effectively than solitary reflection. Through emotional engagement with another person, hidden parts of the psyche become visible and available for integration. The person who seems destined often serves as a catalyst for this transformation. Their role is not merely to provide companionship or validation, but to awaken deeper levels of self-understanding. They challenge illusions, expose inner contradictions, and encourage a more authentic relationship with oneself. Through the struggles, insights, and emotional revelations they inspire, the individual moves closer to recognizing the full complexity of their nature and embracing dimensions of identity that have long remained undiscovered. Carl Jung believed that the deepest purpose of a significant human connection is not simply emotional fulfillment, but the expansion of consciousness. When a person enters your life and creates a profound impact, the experience often serves as an invitation to explore dimensions of yourself that have remained hidden. Many people focus on the external relationship and become preoccupied with questions about destiny, permanence, or future outcomes. Jung, however, encouraged looking inward. He believed that the true meaning of a powerful connection is often found in the psychological and spiritual transformation it initiates within the individual. According to Jung, every person carries within them unconscious aspects of the self that seek expression and integration. These aspects may include forgotten talents, suppressed emotions, unrealized ambitions, childhood wounds, and spiritual longings. Most remain hidden because daily life encourages people to focus on practical responsibilities and social expectations. Yet the unconscious never stops seeking wholeness. It continually searches for opportunities to bring neglected parts of the psyche into awareness. Significant relationships often become the vehicle through which this process unfolds. When a connection feels unusually meaningful, it frequently activates a deeper level of self-reflection. The individual begins to examine emotions, motivations, fears, and desires that were previously ignored. They may find themselves questioning old assumptions about love, identity, purpose, and personal values. What initially appears to be an experience centered on another person gradually reveals itself as a journey into the self. The encounter becomes a doorway leading toward greater awareness. Jung viewed these moments as spiritually important because they challenge the illusion that life is entirely governed by conscious control. Powerful relationships often arrive unexpectedly and alter the direction of a person's inner development. They reveal how much of human experience is shaped by unconscious forces operating beneath awareness. The individual begins to recognize patterns, symbols, dreams, and emotional responses that point toward deeper truths about their nature. This process is rarely comfortable. Genuine transformation requires confronting uncertainty and releasing outdated identities. The person may be forced to acknowledge fears they have avoided, emotional wounds they have hidden, or desires they have denied. Yet these challenges serve a purpose. They create the conditions necessary for psychological growth and greater self-understanding. Through struggle and reflection, the individual gradually integrates previously fragmented aspects of the personality. Jung believed that the ultimate goal of such experiences is the emergence of a more complete and authentic self. The significant person acts as a catalyst, awakening forces that push the psyche toward greater wholeness. Their presence encourages the individual to move beyond superficial identities and discover a deeper center of being. What appears at first to be a mysterious encounter with another human being often becomes a profound encounter with the hidden dimensions of one's own soul, revealing paths of growth, meaning, awareness, and inner evolution that had long been waiting beneath the surface of conscious life.